Hello, hello, hello to each and every one of you. This is Dominic Oliva with another one of your YouTube video vlogs here. I know it's been some time since you last heard from me, and you might have noticed around the apartment I did some rearranging here. I moved things around in the apartment, and as you can see, my birthday balloons are still up. Yes, I just had a birthday on Monday, giving away my age here. So while I have your time and attention on for you on this morning, this is going to be a personal reflections video, so it is going to get very lengthy, so I will warn you guys. So if you do have the tolerance and patience to sit through this video, I do appreciate it. What I'm going to be speaking on for you on today is going to be speaking from the heart. So I'm going to be sharing some things from you. I'm just going to be sharing a perspective. So if you will give me some time. Off tangent here, I got this nice coffee mug that my brother gave to me for our birthday. Yes, I share a birthday with my twin brother. And we actually went out to eat. We went to Texas Roadhouse. I've never been to Texas Roadhouse. I hear that it has very good food. And they have a bunch of stuff there. They got hors d'oeuvres, everything. It's really nice. And we also had a little birthday shout out. So I had a really nice time. I was also away this weekend, but the Texas Roadhouse was the cherry on top to a fantastic night. So if you will, just give me 1 second here. I'm sorry. What's that say there? You know I'm a big pumpkin spice fanatic. I love pumpkin spice. Pumpkin spice coffee, pumpkin spice latte, anything pumpkin spice. I obsess over pumpkin spice. But if I'm going to digress for a moment here, I know I seem to be going off a tangent here. What I'm going to be doing, like I said, is a personal reflections video. And side note, I know it's been some time since you last saw me do quarantine karaoke. I know most of the time I like to sing sometimes, but as most of you already know, I've been doing a lot of step dancing. I've been learning step dancing for the past 12 months, and I've been more into that, more so than I have been into singing. And you know, it's been a long while since I've attended open mics and done karaoke's at venues, but I think I will resume most of that in 2023. I'm going to be taking a break from karaoke because I know it's been some time since you last heard me sing some cover songs, but I'm going to push all of that into sometime in 2023. In the meantime, you'll still see me do some step dance moves. I've done a couple of step dances a while back, a couple of weeks ago. You'll still see me continue to do those, and I'll have quarantine karaoke. I'll be getting back into singing at some point in 2023. I know I do a lot of amateur vlogs, and also on my other YouTube page, which is my travel hiking page, you saw that I went over to Salem. I went with my close friends, but I think that's going to be the last video of the season. My biking vlogs are up right now. We're pretty much already done with the bike vlogs because the weather is getting more colder, so you're not going to be seeing any more videos for this year. I'll have another video vlog, which is the end of the year review. You'll see that at the end of the year, but you're not going to see any more content going into 2023 for most of my videos, including this page and my hiking and traveling page. So now going back to the task at hand, I've been debating for quite some time on whether or not I wanted to do this video because I don't want to ruffle anyone's feathers. What I'm going to be saying for you on this afternoon is pretty much coming from the heart. I'm not speaking of any type of bias, although admittedly, most of us do have our difference of opinions. We all live our lives differently. We each have our own perspectives. And admittedly enough, you know, we also do have our own biases. I'll own up to that. I do have my own biases sometimes. But I'm not speaking out of any stupidity or anything like that. I'm just speaking from the heart because I know it's that time of year now where the holiday season is fastly approaching. We just got over Halloween. Now we're heading into the fall months. We're heading into the winter season, which means we're going to be seeing some holiday decorations. And also, Election Day is among us. And I will be speaking briefly about that. It's important to note that I don't do these kind of videos often. But like I said, I'm only speaking from the heart. This is not out of any form of stupidity. Now, I have done a video a couple of months ago, about 5 months ago back in June, in regards to why I took a break from social media. And I think it's about that time I started to slip up a little bit because I've been going on to social media as of recently. I've been trying to take a break from social media because of the quote-unquote propaganda that gets shared on social media as well as other media platforms. But I think I've been kind of slipping up lately, and I decided that I might take some time off of social media again because now that Election Day is among us, And I vaguely do these kind of videos, and I don't speak on my personal preferences. It's important to note that I don't consider myself or classify myself a political person, but that does not mean that there are certain issues that I don't care about. There are things that I do care about, but I think it's just something about election day, particularly around this time on election day every year, something about that I just don't like about it, and I can't think exactly why. I think it narrows down to preference, because I don't major in history. You know, that's not my high point. I don't major in history like that, but I understand that most U.S. citizens have the right to place their vote. It's voluntary. Voting is voluntary, and we are all registered as voters, and we all have a right to register to vote. But it's also not mandated. You have the option of partaking into voting or not voting. So I'm speaking on behalf of that because there's a lot of propaganda. I know I've said this before, but it seems to be a lot of propaganda going on, especially now with people being exposed to the news, especially the news, because the news is sharing a lot of propaganda. I feel like it's just my opinion and my perspective. You know, my understanding is that it used to be years ago that the news was on every other hour. Now it seems like these days the news is almost always on 24 hours a day. And it's no wonder why when I walk out of here, especially in the community, it's no wonder why I see a lot of people with their heads down. A lot of people seem to have very negative energy, and I seem to be dealing with a lot of negative people lately because they've been exposed to what's been going on the news. It's important to note, take it how you may, but this is just how I feel about it. There may be some truth to the things that we see on that television screen, but not everything is factual. Not everything that you see is true. I think you're being brainwashed into what they're telling you what to believe. That's how I feel about the news media. Now again, I didn't major in history, but I do understand some basic stuff, and my understanding is that right now there are two parties that are running, and I know that there are people that are running for certain positions in office. One of the two major parties are Democrats and Republicans. Those are our two major parties. As far as that goes, I don't know exactly where I stand in that, and I neglect to say what my preference is, but I just sense, in my opinion, when it comes to the elections, I sense that there's been a lot of tension, especially throughout the past couple of years, ever since the pandemic. I feel like these people have been going head to head because Democrats believe in certain things. Republicans believe in another thing. I understand that they're classified as liberals and conservatives. I understand that. Liberals believe in one perspective and conservatives believe in another perspective. And I think what's happening is because I think both ideologies are being attacked, and I think that's why I'm sensing that there's a lot of tension, because it's important to note that everybody has their own preference in the way that they think about things. Everyone has their own opinions. Everybody has their own perspectives. But up until recently, ever since the pandemic, I seem to see that a lot of people are becoming more irrational, especially when it comes to politics. Now, I know I said before that politics is a sensitive subject, and again, this is speaking from the heart. This is not out of stupidity or anything like that, because again, I'm not a history major. But that doesn't mean that I don't know or have the sense to know about certain things. I just think that there's a lot of tension going on, and I'm noticing it now that I did years before. So when it comes to the elections, I'm just going to go ahead and state this because I share this in a Facebook post, and I'm just going to take some time to process my thoughts because I know it's a lot of heavy information, and I don't want folks to feel some type of way because I've been holding back from this for a little while. Now, I can understand, for one, that I am a U.S. citizen born and raised, and I am entitled to certain rights. And at the same breath, I also am a person with a developmental disability. I've shared this many times that I do have Asperger's, and you know, I do my best to try to stay informed about what's going on to the best of my ability, but there's only but so much that my brain can take. I wrote a Facebook post in regards to Election Day and people going into the booths, and I need to state this because I've been guilty about doing this. Every year, ever since 2016, I've been going into the voting booths. You know, I go in to place my vote because I felt like, you know, I know it's a civic duty, and I just felt like if I didn't go into the voting booth, I'm just going to get down to the point. If I didn't go into the voting booth to place my vote, I felt this sense of guilt, because one of the things that's been happening lately is that I've been getting a lot of brochures in the mail about the supposed candidates that are running for office. I get like 12 of those every single day. And I feel like the whole discussion about politics and like democracy, while I understand how these things play a key role into our lives, I feel like it's a game. I feel like it's a dangerous game. The way that politics is being used on these days, I feel like it's a game. It's a tactic. It's a strategy to manipulate one another. That's just my personal viewpoint. One of the things and why I say that I feel like it's a dangerous game is because one group of people is attacking the other group for their ideologies and their beliefs and the way that they view things. I feel like they're both parties, when it comes to Democrats and Republicans, I think like both of them are attacking each other. They're attacking each other's ideologies. They're attacking each other's beliefs. It's not a polite discussion. It's more irrational. People are becoming more irrational. That's just my view, and I know it seems like I'm going all over the place. I'm trying to find the right words to say because, again, I am speaking from the heart. I didn't write any of this down. I am just speaking from a personal perspective. Now, again, if any of you feel some type of way about the things that I said, charge it to the head and not to the heart. Again, I am speaking from my heart. I am speaking off of a personal standpoint because this is what I ultimately see. One of the things that I've been guilty about is going into the booths every year around election day or primary elections and blindly voting, because I've been getting a lot of brochures and I've been feeling somewhat. There's this thing I like to refer to as the guilt trip. I feel like those of us that are registered voters, those of us that are American citizens, I'm going to say it like this. There are 7 billion people in this world. A lot of us in the United States, we don't all think the same. We don't all like the same things, and we all shouldn't be pressured to do such things because we're all very different people. We all have our own standpoints. We all have ways of looking at things, and we don't all major in history. We're into other things. And I feel like when it comes to this election in general, I just feel a sense that, you know, these people or politicians or people that are running for office are trying to paint themselves as the villain or the good guy. That's ultimately what I see this as, and they're pushing everybody to get out and participate. Now, I'm not suggesting that there's anything wrong with partaking in politics or things like that. If that's something that you like to do, by all means, go for it. I'm not, discouraging getting involved and partaking in voting. I think that there are certain issues that are important, but I'm just suggesting that the way and what I said that politics is being used on these days, it's not like we're coming together to have a polite discussion. It's that people seemingly are becoming more angry about the things that bother them personally. I mean, for one, I guess this is speaking from my personal experience. I'm just a young man. I'm a young man. I don't have kids. I don't have a wife. I live in solitude. I enjoy being a bachelor. I say life is pretty good on my end. I don't have a lot of responsibilities. I just, focus on my basic responsibilities and do my best to try to maintain myself and to take care of my well-being. And I work a regular job. I work with people. I say things are going pretty well. But I don't know what it is. With people, it's like, I don't know where their head is at. Like, I'm thinking maybe something happened in their personal life. I just don't understand overall why people seem to be more irrational. All in what I'm saying is, we can't control everything that happens in our lives. We can only change the way to respond to certain things. We can't control everything that's outside. Everything outside is beyond our control. We can't control people. We can't control ideologies. We can't control each other's perspectives. We can only change our control to how we respond to something. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Now again, when it comes to Democrats or Republicans or quote-unquote liberals and conservatives, at this point, I don't neither classify myself as either one. It used to be that when I was younger, I felt like I didn't have much of a choice because I pretty much went along with what everyone else did, and I was naive. But you have to understand, I was younger. And that being said, I think it's possible for most of us to care for others, but at the same time, we have to have boundaries too. It's possible that most of us humans can care about others, but we have to also care for ourselves too. Like I said, there's 7 billion people on this earth. The human brain can't absorb all that information, all that heavy information, and it's not possible for one person to take care of everybody. Sometimes we have to establish boundaries. Sometimes we have to look after ourselves. I know for some of you it sounds like I'm coming from a place of selfishness. What I'm suggesting is there are certain things that people can do that are within their control. Everybody can't look after every single person. One person can't take care of everybody because most people are incapable of being taken care of, and the other persons, they don't want to be helped. There's just some people in the world that just do not want to be helped, and there's nothing really that we can do on our end. The overall bigger picture of what I'm seeing here is it seems like the news is painting this picture, this narrative, that a lot of what we see on that news is negative and bad. However, when I walk out in these streets and I go out into the community and I see my loved ones and I see the beautiful nature, it seems like everything is going fine than what they're painting this picture on the screen. I feel like some people are being brainwashed. They're feeding into the negative things that they're seeing on that television screen because, as that saying goes, if it bleeds, it leads. Ever heard that saying? If it bleeds, it leads. You see a lot of that on the screen, but yet you don't hear anything about a person's accomplishments. You don't hear about somebody breaking their ankles. You don't hear about things like that. You don't hear about someone dying from a stroke. You don't hear about things like that. You're hearing about the gruesome stuff. You're hearing about people getting shot out in these streets. You're hearing all these negative things because that's what gets the most attention. That's where it gets the most profit. That's where these people are making the most money. That's just how I feel. Again, speaking on behalf of myself, there are things that I struggle with personally, and I don't deal well with conflict. I don't deal well with arguments. I don't like arguments. I don't like yelling. I don't like screaming. I don't like drama. That's just the type of person that I am. I always try to be the reasonable one. I try to look for a middle ground. I try to understand each other's both perspectives. I try to make an effort to understand where each person is coming from. I don't like arguments, and I don't deal with that well. And that's what I feel like I'm seeing. I'm seeing a lot of people out here arguing and screaming because they feel like they're trying to get somewhere. All of these things don't do anything. Ultimately, that's just adding insult to injury. You're not helping anything. You're not solving the situation. You're not helping to solve problems. You're adding more insult to injury by yelling and screaming just because you want to prove to be right. Side note, when it comes to conflict and drama, I feel like I get very triggered easily. I just got over a gut infection. I have UC, formerly known as ulcerative colitis, and the symptoms of that include going to the restroom when you have abdominal pains, but it's not just the food that you eat. It's also your brain, because your brain is connected to the gut. And I feel like when you get triggered by stuff like that, the things that get you very anxious, it makes you feel very tense, and that triggers some of the anxiety that I feel. So I don't deal with those things very well. Now, I understand for those of us people that want to take issue with something, it's okay to have a polite conversation. It's okay to talk to each other about these things, but to cut each other off just because of differences of opinions, it doesn't do it. Ultimately, in what I see this when it comes to news and politics and the way people are being brainwashed, it's severing relationships that we have with one another. I don't like that. We've maintained relationships for so long that any discussion that involves politics or issues that affect them personally, if one person believes in something and another person believes in differently, you have to try to work something out. Try to find a middle ground. Try to see where you guys agree or where you disagree. Don't be so quick to cut one another off. That's just going to sever the relationship. You're going to cut each other off and you're not going to want anything to do with one another. I don't want to see that. So based on some of the stuff that I've been reading up on and some of the videos that I've been watching, I've come to this conclusion that neither parties have their act together. It doesn't matter whether Republicans or Democrats run across one another. Neither of them have it right altogether. Pretty much do the same job. It doesn't matter who's better or who's not better. I feel like they both do the same job and they both deliver the same results. That's just how I feel about it. Take it how you may, but that's just the way I'm seeing it. It seems like neither parties have it together and none of them want to look for a middle ground. That's just the way. And with that being said, there are times, even now especially over my life, where I have to look back and reevaluate some of the choices or some of the things that I've seen, some of the choices that I've made, I have to reevaluate my life, because there are times, even now, especially today, knowing myself, that I feel like I'm walking into this trap. I feel like I'm being pressured into doing something that ultimately doesn't really feel comfortable for me. I don't like having to be the person to have to pick a side. It used to be back in the days where it feels like, again, I didn't have much of a choice. But now that I'm older, I feel like I have a little bit of leeway, and I can come with my own gut intuition and make my own informed decision in whether or not something feels good or something feels bad to me. So again, when it comes to these elections that are coming up, I'm not going to share whether or not I went in to place my vote, because I don't think that's anyone's business. But the way that I see it, whether or not you're a Republican or a Democrat or independent or whatever you classify, ultimately, I see it as we're all people. We all have differing beliefs and perspectives. I just feel like there has to be some sort of middle ground. I don't want to classify or see ourselves as being divided, because at the end of the day, we are all people. And ultimately, the way that I see it is, you're telling these young people that are just getting out into the world, you're ultimately telling these 18-year-olds that they have to register to vote and pick a side. Ultimately, you're telling these people that they have to go and pick a side and choose the candidates that they don't see on their day-to-day lives, that they don't really know that very well. That's ultimately what I see it as. Now again, we see these public figures on TV, but we don't see them on our day-to-day lives. We don't talk to these people. We haven't even gotten to know these people. We haven't had lunch. We hadn't had the discussions or anything like that, but we see these people on TV. So how are we supposed to make our decision based on something that's face value, based on the brochures or news in general? I just don't think that we have enough information that supports these people that are supposed candidates that are running for office. I think it's important that, each of us, myself included, because I have to, hold myself accountable too, that before we walk into the booths and place our vote, to have a sense or to have an idea or to get to know these people before we make our own informed decision. Otherwise, we're going to keep getting these brochures, and we're going to keep seeing things on TV that are painting these people, these politicians, as good or bad people. I don't like that. I just don't like the tactic that they're using, because that's how media companies and things of that nature, that's how they profit and make money off of that. They're doing this in an effort to brainwash us into believing that Democrats are good and Republicans are bad and vice versa. I just feel like there's some tension there. I just know that much. Again, I didn't study history, but I'd like to think that I have enough sense to know exactly what's going on in the bigger picture, and ultimately what I see this as. I see this as a form of a dangerous game. Let me put it to you like this. I wouldn't mind going in and placing a vote for a candidate and getting into a discussion if it were more productive and not hostile. That's ultimately what I see it as. I see it as more of a hostile thing, with people getting in interactions with one another and discussing things with one another and then disapproving other people's decisions. Does that kind of make sense what I'm trying to say? I know I tend to stumble on my words, but again, as a person with aspies, I'm just trying to find the right things to say, because I'm not trying to offend. This is coming from the heart. This is coming from the things that I've been feeling as of lately, and why I've been holding off from doing this video for quite some time. So having that being said, I'm going to go ahead and conclude this video and state this. I believe that each and every one of us American citizens are entitled to certain things, and we all have a right to live our lives however we may. We're entitled to do certain things. I believe that each and every one of us has talents, abilities, and skills, and we should use it to the best of our ability. I also believe that people should live however they choose to live and whatever makes them happy. As long as it doesn't hurt everybody else, feel free to do and say whatever you want. Just don't go around attacking other people because of their different beliefs and perspectives and the way that they see the world. Does that kind of make sense what I'm trying to say? I'm neither classifying with either or parties. I'm just saying that there has to be some sort of middle ground. I believe that each and every one of us are entitled to live however and whatever makes us happy, as long as it doesn't physically attack or hurt anybody else. Does that kind of make sense what I'm trying to say? Once again, I know this information was very heavy, and I hope and pray that those of you that watch this video, that you please do not take this personal. Please don't be so quick to react. This is coming from an aspies perspective. This is coming from the heart. So take it how you may, but just take some time to evaluate and, you know, take heed to some of the things that I said. Don't take my suggestion entirely, but this is just ultimately some of the things that I see. Now, your viewpoints may be different from my viewpoints, and that's okay. I'm just saying that we have to find a way to have these discussions in a polite manner, you know, find a middle ground, you know, have these polite discussions and, you know, be able to maintain certain relationships. That's pretty much the overall picture that I'm trying to draw here. I'm not looking for any tensions, I'm not looking for any conflict, I'm not looking for any fights or anything like that. I'm just stating ultimately what I see. But again, your viewpoints may be different from my viewpoints, and that's totally okay. That's pretty much what I conclude this video, and to those of you that understand what I'm trying to come from, I want to thank you so much. But if you enjoy this video content and all my previous past contents, please subscribe, and I hope to have more videos in the coming months, especially going into 2023. But again, like I said, I know this is a very deep personal video, and I hope most of you are not offended. Again, this is coming from a personal standpoint. This is coming from my perspective. Take it how you may, and I hope you guys were not offended. I hope you'll take some time to think things over and to not take anything that I said to heart. I'm not looking to attack anybody. I'm just suggesting that somewhere in the middle, there has to be a way to agree to disagree to certain things, because I don't want us to be more divided than we already are. There's enough problems going on as is. We just got over a pandemic. I feel like there's enough tension as is, and I feel like just something has to give. That's ultimately what I'm trying to get at. So having that being said, I'm going to go ahead and stop talking, and I'm going to conclude this video. If you enjoy all my past content, like I said, please stay updated to more videos, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. If you do feel confident about the decisions that you made, by all means, like I'm saying, I'm not discouraging you partaking in politics and voting. By all means, do what you have to do to stay informed, and go with your own gut intuition. Go with what you feel is in your heart. Go with what you feel is right for you, and, you know, go ahead and place your vote. I'm just saying that for each and every one of us, we're all different, and we shouldn't be forced into ultimately putting ourselves in a position where we feel attacked or we feel like we're playing this game. Does that kind of make sense what I'm trying to say? To each and every one of you, I say I hope you have a good afternoon. For those of you that are not registered to vote, please do so, and please feel free to go ahead and place your vote for the supposed candidates. But for those of you that don't feel comfortable or are undecided to go and place your vote, that's okay too. Voting is voluntary. Do what you have to do on your part. And that's where I'll pretty much leave the video off. Please stay informed as best as you can, but also try to look at the bigger things. Try to focus on things that also make you happy. Try to focus on the things that you have control over. And that's where I'll leave the video off. Please, please, I plead you, please do not take something like the news or politics to heart. Please do not let that consume your energy. There are much bigger things to life. You are important and you matter. You deserve to be healthy. You deserve to be happy. Please don't let something like this corrupt you, corrupt your mental and physical health.